Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mechanical Marie, Season 1, Episode 8. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, it's entering summer vacation time for the Academy, but the problem is Marie got massive F's on her scores on her test, and she has 2 days to get a she can do, I think their exams and she gets to redo them again, but she has 2 days. And I love that Arthur sees those. He's like, oh my god, where did these abysmal grades come from? And it's like, wait, I'm supposed to be a robot? How do I fail? And I was like, what was going to be the justification for this? But luckily, Arthur is who he is, so he constantly fills in those gaps where Marie doesn't really have to. So his immediate suggestion is, oh my god, it must be when those nerds kidnapped you back in episode 6, like when they quote-unquote wiped your memory. That excuse has come back to actually help you in this regard. So it's like, oh, that must have made you forget everything. So because obviously at this school it's pretty hardcore that if you fail, it isn't just like, oh, you get to try and try again. It's like, no, the moment you fail, you get expelled from this school. So for Maria, it's like not only just her job involves protecting Arthur, so she needs to be around him all the time, even at school, but also she enjoys the time being around him. So it means she, especially she even says Roy lashing out at her about all of this would be the least of her worries. So she just never be able to be around, because she would definitely get fired afterwards. It's like, well, if you can't protect him at school, that kind of nullifies some of your whole gig of being around him 24/7. So Arthur decides he'll help her study, but then obviously Noah, being Noah, overheard everything and decided hey, let me use this opportunity to kind of help you study. And obviously Marie's like, okay, you offering to help study with Arthur, it's like, I know you must have some kind of weapons on you. He's like, no. He's like, in all honesty, it would be easy for you to get expelled and to make it that much easier for me to kill Arthur, but I like you a lot, so it would mean you wouldn't be around, and that kind of get in the way of our little tango. And I love Arthur finds her there, with his jacket wide open. She's holding his jacket wide open. It's like, oh my god, you're doing something so indecent, Marie. She's like, I was trying to tell him that he has a stain on his jacket. He's like, oh my god, of course, Marie, you're so considerate. But then Noah, being the prick that he is, like, hey, so I'm going to help Marie study. It makes a lot more sense for me to help her because I'm actually in her class. You are in an advanced class, and so you have a different curriculum. And so it's like, obviously that annoys Arthur, but he can't rebuttal that because he's like, right, as long as someone's able to help her, that's all that matters. But there still is an innate jealousy of, which is so funny because we went through, Marie's jealousy a couple episodes back. And now the shoe is on the other foot. Obviously, what makes it so much worse is because Noah is, once again, the prick and the troll that he is, that he constantly has that leverage against Marie, and he has oh, look at this thing here or whatever, and it's pictures of her from her sports days, was during her fighting days or whatever, and now it's messing with her, even ooh, this thing slipped out of my hand. Arthur, could you pick it up? Marie rushes over, and it's just a blank page that literally says blank on it. It's you're such a dick. Because the thing is, I think what makes him feel so comfortable trolling is because he enjoys seeing Marie squirm. But I think there's also a part of his brain that believes, no, Marie's going to be mine in the end because we have our little, repertoire. But the fact is, he's eventually Marie's not going to be able to keep up this lie forever. And eventually Arthur's going to find out the truth and he's going to abandon you. But then it can be you and me. In his own twisted mind, that's where their true love blossoms. In fact, he believes them to be endgame. But it's does he genuinely love Marie? It's hard to say because he is the sociopath that he is. Let's not forget he is a hitman for hire. So, it's got to be some form of being disturbed. But once again, he sees something in Marie that he sees them as the same when they're not. But it's in his head, it's what love is. And maybe maybe there's something to it. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just him with his notions of what he believes love to be, which is so interesting considering you have Arthur who doesn't trust. You have Marie who doesn't show her feelings, but she herself is now trying to discover what it means to be in love, knowing and understanding what it means as a human because she's come to terms with those feelings, but having to present it a certain way because she is a robot. We'll get to that later, but yeah, it's just an interesting conundrum to be in, and I think there's an interesting parallel there, but yeah. So the studying all works out in the end. It's not like she gets stellar grades, but she goes from an F to like a D plus or something like that. So she's able to pass now. So she gets to stay in the school. And Arthur, as a means of celebrating, I mean, obviously he's a little disheartened because he's like, I was a little jealous. Well, at least Marie's like, oh, he must have been jealous because the entire time he wanted to be the one that helped her, that she only had to rely on him. And she didn't like appreciates that Noah helped her in the end, but it's still kind of like especially because Noah was doing some stuff behind Marie's back, was teasing Arthur, being like, oh, you might be around her 24/7, but there's also certain things I know about her that you don't know. It's like, oh, I could always tell you. And Arthur, like for Arthur, no matter what it is, he knows there's probably things about Marie he doesn't know because that comes up conversation wise, like in the second part of the episode. But I think for him, it's like, I'd rather Marie feel comfortable enough to tell me those things herself. Right, and maybe there's the things Marie's only learning about him as the show series is going on, so he's not trying to like rush her to like tell him things. But the last thing he would ever want to do, because it would undermine everything, if he had to learn anything about Marie from Noah, that would like undermine everything. So it's like, if I'm going to learn anything about Marie, I want to be the one who learned it myself. So I think that also added to the necessity in his mind of like, I'd rather it just be me that like helped you out, that I'm the reason why you passed, but at the end of the day you did, so let's celebrate it by going on this like tropical escape together. And they don't end up going alone because it's like, oh, his aunt and his uncle are there, and his niece, which we get a like small appearance from her, not niece, cousin is what I'm trying to say, sorry. But I love that she was running over, and then like his uncle grabbed her and dragged her back. I wonder, I wonder, is Arthur her favorite person in the world? Like, or like, is that just like, I wonder, we're going to find out, is it a thing like, not necessarily in a gross way, like an ancestral way, but more like, well, because he's not biologically part of this. Well, because they're not biological. I'm trying to remember, like, they're family friends, right? They're not actual family, or maybe they actually are blood family. I can't remember. But I was wondering if it's like a thing of like, oh, that's his young cousin who like looks up to Arthur and just likes him, or maybe she secretly has a crush on him, like in a kid way, not like in a weird, like I said, incestual way. I don't know. It could just be like, hey, I like you a lot, and I just want to hang around you and have fun. But like, he had a look on his face like, oh boy, when she was running towards them. So there's some history there. There's something there that we just don't know about. Because it could just be her being an annoying kid. But the thing is, Arthur didn't invite anyone. He actually wanted it to just be him and Marie. But being the dick that he is, Noah called other people. Like the fan club shows up there. The aunt and the uncle and the cousin. Also, Maynard is there, along with Roy and Marie too. Because even they weren't like on the list. It was supposed to just be Marie and Arthur. But then Reynard summons up a giant robot to bust up the function. Turns out this robot was actually supposed to be a prototype of Marie 2. It's like, what is it, like prototype, like was it like number 26 or something like that? And you can see a lot of similarities. Specifically, the face on the screen is very resemblant of Marie 2. And so Marie 2 tussles in battle with it, like flying around, dodging it, grabs it by its legs, lifts it up into the air, spins it, and slams it down. But then it still has to, Marie 2 has to tussle as Marie leads Arthur away. They go through a cave, like kind of an opening on the other side, and the opening caves in from like the battle. Which I was like, well, it's like, I guess with the scenery being what it is, because it's a whole bunch of like higher, I don't know if hills are the right word, but it's also probably like a whole bunch of woods, and maybe that path was probably the only other side to the mountain without being able to swim. Because I was like, well, you could probably swim around, but then it was like, all right, Marie can't swim. I mean, both literally as Marie the human, she can't swim, but also she's not supposed to get into the water as Marie the robot. I forgot about that until they brought it up later on in the episode. So. But there is a benefit, because even Marie's kind of noticing, like, hey, we're here alone, both in bathing suits together too. So she was kind of feeling the moment. But, then her stomach starts growling, and then so does, obviously need to get something to eat for Arthur as well. But it's like, wait, your stomach's growling? She's like, oh no, what do I come up with? He's like, oh, Roy must have like given you that function or whatever. He's like, I have to talk to Roy about it. She's like, oh, I'm so glad he's still the gullible person he is. It's like, yeah, Roy wanted to make me as human as possible, but it's like, hey, don't worry, Marie. Here's these batteries. I always keep some on me, which is sweet and would be. I mean, it's the thought is very sweet, even though she's not really a robot, but still, the thought is sweet that he makes sure to always make sure to have something on hand that she can always snack on to be okay. So, but I also love the note, the warning in the episode always being like, these are Zait's Corporation dry cell batteries. Do not do this in real life. And also, despite not being a robot, being able to seamlessly cut open a coconut so that Arthur can drink from, which I even love her being like, I'll drink from one later when he's not looking. And she was also going to go into the water to get some fish for him because, like, hey, you need some nourishment afterwards. And he's like, no, I don't want you to, like, it's going to be an issue if you go in the water. She's like, it's perfectly fine as long as my head doesn't get submerged in water. And I love the little, I love the little thing that they do when they have, like, that little, like, circle face, which is kind of like people's true feelings. And that look on her face where it's like, well, she's not lying because it's like, because if her head gets below the water, she begins drowning. So, yes. So there was it's an omission of truth type of lie. I forgot what set up this sequence in her head, but there was a oh, right. She was taking Arthur to get a plant initially to try. It's like, oh, this grass you could eat, and it ends up being a particular plant. And I was like, how do you know that? Are you just guessing? But she's like, no, she has experience because she's like, it reminds her, she's like, when I used to live with mom and dad. And I was like, ooh, getting a little bit of Marie's backstory. So she's like, yeah, she used to live happily with her mom and dad. And she's like, yeah, they let me keep doing my training and stuff like that. But then her dad died in an accident, which I'm like, curious to see if we dive into that further in the future. Because when we initially see her mom, we don't see her features on her face, but I was like, doesn't look as much like the mom we got in that tiny flashback. I believe that was episode 1. We were learning about her family debts and stuff. But then we scroll up and it's like, her mom immediately got with another guy and would not actually be home that often. In fact, Marie's like, I wonder if I started getting in her way. Because Marie probably became a reminder of what she lost. And so she probably decided to prioritize herself at that point. So it's like really heartbreaking. So Marie had to take care of herself. So she would eat plans and kind of take care of herself up until the point that she got old enough that she could work and, take care of herself in that regard, which I'm like, whoa. So, because like we barely touched on Marie's backstory in that regard. So I was like, oh, kind of getting that side of things and knowing like that's where her mom's story kind of goes. I'm like, I wonder, I mean, especially because like the whole reason for taking this job too was like paying off her mom's debt. So I'm like, what about that new guy in her life? Did he bail or something like that? The fact is that we haven't had any contact with her mom at all. Does her mom not know where she is? Based on this, it seems like her mom doesn't care. But it's like, does she know that the debt got paid off because of Marie? Because like Roy handled that. But like, I don't know if like how much of that's gotten back to her that. I mean, and with that, could it also be a sad thing where like her mom is racking up more and more of a debt and Roy's continuing to handle that? The more Marie's, there's just so much I'm curious about that home life. That might be something we might not circle back to until like the very end. I don't know. I mean, they could always pull like there's a webtoon manhwa called Girls of the Wilds. The reason why I'm bringing it up is like the main protagonist Jaegu has a complicated family life. Basically, similar thing in regard. Basically, his dad died in an accident and his mom abandoned him, and now he has to raise his siblings on his own. I'm drawing the parallel because in that storyline, you'd almost wonder, will that ever circle back around? The live action adaptation of it did more with it, but it has the same end result of that there's no family confrontation. He never meets up with his mom and confronts her again. Kind of a spoiler, but it's like, if you ever watch, it's a great series, highly recommend it. Action-y, dramedy romance. But yeah, like it's a storyline you'd almost expect to get to in the webtoon or even the live action television show. It's like I said, they add more to his family dynamic, but it's not, either way, you don't get the proper confrontation with his mom after everything. And that's why I'm wondering, like, will Marie have that confrontation with her mom in this story, or will that just be something, it's part of her past and part of her story where she is, but the confrontation is not part of the story. Having not read the manga, I don't know if that's a possibility or not. because the original manga is done. There is a sequel manga that I believe is still being made. I'm sorry I went on this massive diatribe, but that just kind of got me thinking, you know. And I love, once again, Marie has to always be careful about like what she says, because she accidentally says it out loud of like, oh, it got me thinking about my, the old days. And he's like, the old days? She's like, crap. What I meant by the old days, she's like, I used to be a lawnmower, and some of that data still exists, so I remember my time as that. And then Arthur's takeaway was, I actually don't know that much about Marie. And it's just kind of like, yeah. And it's just that thing of knowing that I'm going to have to continuously lie to Arthur, and she wants to eventually be able to tell him the truth, and kind of wants to at least get a little closer to that. But either way, it starts raining. He takes her to the cave, takes off like his shirt to kind of cover her head, and he like hugs her, and she's kind of getting nervous. She's almost like, oh my God, what's happening? And he's like, it's not an intimate moment necessarily. It's him apologizing. He's like, I'm so sorry. I wanted to make great memories for you, but everyone showing up here kind of ruined that. I'm sorry. But she's like, no, it's okay. The fact is, as long as I can be with you, like, that's all that matters. And he's like, oh, I love you. And for her, she's like, I'm a robot, so I don't really know or truly understand romantic feelings. But she like knows as Marie how she really feels. And so she's like, I want to at least give him some, because she's scared that like if she never tells him how she feels, eventually he'll get to the point he'll push her away, because it's like, well, I feel the way I do, but you'll never feel that way about me. But so she's like, if I were human, I think I would. That's how I would feel about you. And he's like, well, what are you trying to say? And they're getting closer and closer, about like they're about to kiss. But then Marie too shows up and rescues them. But this situation left them both feeling a little satisfied, being hung up on those words. If I was human, Marie's beating herself up about it, because it's like, oh my God, if I was human, but I am human, but I'm lying to you about being a robot. Then I'm sure for Arthur, it's like, oh, if she was human, it's like, oh, like, am I going to be stuck on the fantasy of like, oh, if she was human, like, but if she was human, would I like her, considering my distrust of humans? I like Marie because she's a robot, but if she was human, we could be together, so those complicated feelings. And based around kind of what was being teased in the promo for next episode, something is going to go down. Now, whether it's as bad at, because I think it's Charlotte giving the voiceover for that, but like whether what she's kind of setting up to make it seem like, oh, the truth is going to come out, or there's going to be some massive misunderstanding, maybe not necessarily the truth about Marie's circumstances as a human, but maybe something else entirely that gets misunderstood, that it just wrong place, wrong time type of thing happens. So we'll have to wait to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.